Hi, welcome to our official beginning of the business meeting of the 60th National Conference for Mortarboard. 105 years ago, Mortarboard's first conference was called to order on February 15th, 1918 in upstate New York, the Convention for the Nationalization of Honorary Societies for Senior Women. Since then, Mortarboard has met triennially, biennially, and annually. We've met in person and virtually. And this, as we've said earlier this evening, is the 60th time that the delegates of our society have come together for a national conference in our 105-year history. Before we take the official roll, I would like to invite our student representative on the National Council, Michaela Johnson, from the Senior Staff Chapter at North Dakota State University, to explain how voting will work at this year's national conference. Michaela?
Thanks, Katie. Like Katie said, I graduated from North Dakota State University and their student rep. So, Article 5 of our national bylaws, our supreme governing document, refers to the voting rights of the national conference. This year, given the ongoing struggle many chapters face to achieve financial solvency as we have emerged from the global pandemic, the National Council has decided to invoke Article 9 and make an exception to who is eligible to voting in this meeting. We'd like to walk you through that now. First of all, Article 5, Section 1.2 states that the supreme governing body of the society is our collegiate members. That means that we are the only National Honor Society that allows collegiate members to make all our decisions to change the bylaws and to elect the council members. This has been an important part of our history as a national organization and is one that we are happy to see in action at our national conference. Section 1.4 states that each chapter shall be represented by one official delegate who may cast a ballot on behalf of their chapter at the national conference. Section 1.7 vests authority for governance to the National Council between official conferences. Article 5, Section 4.1 says that voting privileges will be suspended for any chapter whose fees have not been paid or whose official membership report has not been submitted to the national office. Given that many of our chapters are in financial distress, we feel it is important to allow each chapter present to be represented by voice and vote throughout the weekend. We invoke Article 9 and make an exception just for this national conference to Article 5, Section 4.1. We will allow each chapter present to have one delegate vote all matters this weekend on behalf of their chapter, giving them a voice and vote throughout the weekend on official business. Those chapters not present at this weekend's national conference will not have a voice. And no chapter can cast a vote more than one official vote on each subject. I yield the floor.
Thank you, Michaela. Does anyone have any questions before we move forward? If so, you could indicate by raising your hand or putting those in the chat. Looks like Shaw. Gil, do you have a question? If you'd like to come off mute, say your name and your chapter and what question you have.
Yes. Hi, I'm Shaw Gill. I'm with the Freya chapter at Bowling Green State University. So, we are not allowed to vote if we have not paid the fee yet?
Great clarifying question. So that is what the bylaws state, but what we are proposing as a national council, one of the recommendations we had is that if a chapter is present this weekend, then you will be able to vote. We obviously, there are chapter fees and there are reports that we want for our chapters to participate in, to be in that great standing, but we wanted to allow any chapter present to be able to cast a vote if a collegiate member is here this weekend. Does that make sense and clarify?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Any other questions? RJ, would you come off of mute? Did you have a question?
Yeah, this is RJ from Wichita State University. I just wanted to clarify, if we have multiple members attending, what's the process for selecting the delegate that will be voting?
Great question. So as you indicated, only one person from each chapter can vote. Oftentimes, the president of the chapter becomes the official delegate, but we know that this weekend there may be some chapters where among yourselves you'd want to determine who's best to represent your chapter. Maybe someone can't be at every single event or something like that. So as long as you all kind of figure that out among yourselves and just cast one ballot, then that should be sufficient. did I miss anything? I know Amy, our National Secretary, or Kirsten, our Executive Director.
Nope, the only addition, because I also see a couple questions in the chat asking about voting. And Elizabeth Payton, who is a member of our Nominating and Credentials Committee. Great job, Elizabeth, already answered. But just in case people didn't see that, the voting will take place through a form. So you'll get the link directly to the form. And if you're not sure if you were the delegate, go ahead, and if multiple people vote from the same institution, the Nominating and Credentials Committee will determine, so whoever's, again, the highest ranking official at your chapter. So if it's the president, that's pretty clear, will be the vote if there's difference in the votes. If we're unable to determine who the highest ranking chapter officer is, and there's a difference in votes, we'll reach out to that chapter to see if you either have consensus or to appoint the official delegate. So worst case scenario, if you're not sure, still go ahead and vote. That's why we've got a committee of fantastic students who will validate the votes between tomorrow morning when the votes close and early at the start of the conference.
Great. I'm glad we could clarify that, RJ. Great questions. Any other questions that people wanted to ask before we move on to start calling the roll? Okay, perfect. Well, to officially begin our meeting, excuse me, we will call the roll by region. And I've asked the section coordinators present to help me call the roll for their section. I think you've already seen that we have a fantastic group of section coordinators. They are incredibly accomplished, have big careers and professional accomplishments in addition to their fabulous volunteer roles within Mortarboard. I hope that you'll check out their bios on Whova and get to know them across this weekend. So I will go ahead and introduce the section coordinators for each region, and then one of them will call the roll. So beginning with Region 1, we'll have the section coordinators call each registered chapter in their region alphabetically. When you hear your chapter's name called, please have the official delegate from the chapter come off of mute and say your first and last name to indicate that your chapter is present at the 60th conference. Our National Secretary, Amy Abernathy, will be helping to make roll along with the chair of the Nominating and Credentials Committee. If you're unable to speak off and come off of mute, you can always chat it in. We are also assisted today by the chair of the Nominating and Credentials Committee, Isabella Wireman, for the Sphinx chapter at Auburn University, who will help assist me in taking the official role and in introducing our candidates up for election to the National Council this weekend. And so I'm happy to introduce our powerhouse section coordinators for Region 1, former student representative on National Council and Standing Governance Committee member Brendan Wall, who was initiated at Illinois State University in 2018, and recent Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee member Vedant Kulkarni, who was initiated at Kansas State University in 2021. Both are returning after a great first year as SC, leading Region 4. Vedant will read roll, followed by a student from the region to read their Morty Boardman story.
Hey, Katie.
Oh, can we advance the slide to the Region 1 slide? Thanks, Ben.
All right. As she said, my name is Vedant Kulkarni, and I'm here to begin the roll call. Carnegie Mellon University.
Adiva's here, Adiva Dutta. Go Tartans, indeed. Thanks, Patience.
College of William and Mary.
Chloe Moore.
Endicott College.
Taylor Kermody.
Grove City College.
Ethan David.
Hood College. Longwood University. Salem College.
Alana Bridges.
Pennsylvania State University. University of Vermont. University of Maryland,
Amanda Radko.
University of Richmond, Wake Forest University, and West Virginia University. Awesome. And Katie, you said reading the Morty Boardman story, is it?
Yes. Were you going to do that or a student from your region? Either way.
So I was going to do that. I took the notes actually. So, okay.
All right. Can't wait to hear it.
Awesome. So Morty Boardman, a new member from Region 1, was so excited to attend the national conference to learn about mortarboard. He hopped on a Zoom meeting and got involved with an icebreaker. And his section coordinators asked him what his favorite TV show was. He was deciding whether to have chicken noodle or a chicken noodle soup or surf and turf for dinner. He picked his favorite show and it was Bluey. He went to get crispy, creamy donuts as it's their 86th anniversary and they have an offer of 86 cents for a dozen. And that's our story.
What a great story. I love that. Thank you, Vedant. Now I'm happy to introduce our enthusiastic and energetic section coordinators for Region 2, returning rock star Jackie Huff, who was initiated at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in 2019, and new section coordinator, recent graduate, and 2023 Mortarboard Fellow, and standing nominating committee member Annie Massia, who was initiated at the University of South Alabama in 2021 to call the roll for Region 2. Jackie, thanks for calling the roll and reading your Morty Boardman story.
We actually have a student that's going to read ours. I believe it was Hannah. So if we want to, I don't know, Hannah, you want to put your, so I can pin you too. But yeah, I will start with roll. So go Region 2. We'll start with Agnes Scott College.
Jaden Patterson.
Auburn University.
Isabella Wireman.
Birmingham Southern College. The College of Charleston.
Krista Joby.
Florida State University.
Hannah Stores.
Jackson State University. Lyon College.
Chase Orff.
Mississippi College. Rhodes College. The University of Alabama.
Mason McCool.
Troy University.
Ashlyn Simpson.
University of Louisville. University of Mississippi.
Parker Brown.
And finally, University of South Alabama.
Abby Mock.
All right. So our story was that Morty Boardman, a member from Region 2, is going to the grocery store to get a loaf of bread, and he met someone interesting who likes to ride tandem bikes. They offer him a ride to his house. Meanwhile, they blast Olivia Rodrigo on the way there, but Morty likes Sabrina Carpenter more. So they rode in silence back to the grocery store because they forgot something. They went into the store to make the purchase. While Morty was making the purchase, Olivia's new single Vampire came on. Then he realizes that he's gluten-free and they don't have any gluten-free bread at the store. They turn around and realize that both Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter are standing there together singing a duet.
I love the creativity of this. Thank you so much. Section 2 represented well. Now it's time to call the roll for Region 3, and I am excited to introduce our dynamic duo from the great state of Ohio. 2023 Section Coordinator of the Year, Kaylee Weicker, who was initiated at Ohio Northern University in 2010, and returning Section Coordinator Alexa Murray, who was initiated at The Ohio State University in 2014. Kaylee will read the roll, and we'll figure out who's going to read Morty Boardman.
Avery Fire from our region is going to read our Morty Boardman story when we're done. So Adrian College.
Alexis Arvanites.
Albion College.
Shannon Barba.
Ball State University. Bowling Green State University.
Shaw Gill,
Case Western Reserve University.
Tiffany Tai.
Hanover College.
Max Bow.
Northern Michigan University.
Avery Fear.
Ohio Northern University.
Becky Wilkins.
Purdue University.
Kinsey Gameladine.
The Ohio State University.
Lauren Isaacs.
The University of Findlay. The University of Toledo.
Jada Alcantara.
And Xavier University.
All right, so again, my name is Avery. I'm from Northern Michigan University, and I will go ahead and read our story. Morty Boardman, a new member from Region 3, loves to ride his bike to town every day. Every morning, he stops at the same coffee house and picks up a drink before he goes to class. After he goes to class, he goes to the store and picks up a pineapple from the grocery store. Once he picks up the pineapple from the store, he decides to make a really good dessert before work the next day. He makes a pineapple upside down cake. He takes the pineapple upside down cake to work the next day and shares it with all of his friends. After they all ate the pineapple cake, he went to the gym. After he went to the gym, he drank a protein shake that was flavored with vanilla. Then, on his way home, he got a flat tire. He got out his cell phone and tried to dial his friend for help. Unfortunately, his friend was taking a nap and never picked up. Unfortunately for Morty, his arch nemesis, Schmorty Schmordman, came and stole his bike. Since he lost his bike, he was forced to start the long walk home. On the way home, Morty finds a $20 bill. With his newfound luck and his $20, Morty stopped at the local gas station. And with the $800 million Powerball in effect, he decided to spend it all on tickets. After returning home and turning on the TV, Morty finds out that he wins the Powerball, and Morty lives happily ever after. I love it. That Morty Boardman was busy between the gym and all of the other things. What a great story. I also have to call an audible and apologize to my good friend Robbie Kechak from the University of Cincinnati, who was initiated into mortarboard in 2014, who's also a section coordinator in this region. So Robbie, I'm so sorry. I definitely didn't mean to leave you out in introducing our section coordinators. Now on to Region 4. I'm really excited to introduce a relatively new but vibrant team of section coordinators, 2022 fellow Jason Baker, who was initiated at the University of Nebraska at Kearney in 2020, and 2023 Mortarboard Conference Advisory Board member, Caitlin Cant, who was initiated at Illinois State University in 2021, and returning section coordinator, former student rep and standing member of the DEIB committee, Gabby Going, who was initiated at Eastern Illinois University in 2016. Jason, please take us away with the Section 4 roll call.
Sure, thank you, Katie. Beloit College. Coe College. Illinois State University.
Paris Stogsdill.
North Dakota State University. Northwestern University. The University of Nebraska at Lincoln.
Emily Plotnick.
University of Nebraska at Kearney.
Abigail Marichka.
And finally, University of North Dakota.
Karina Hewitt.
All right, thank you. And unfortunately, I was not able to make the meet and greet earlier, so I'm not sure who's going to read our story.
I'm actually reading our story. I'm Abigail Marichka from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. And our story is Morty Boardman, a New member from Region 4 walked down the street to get ice cream and he realized it was too hot to eat outside, so he sat down inside the ice cream shop and then walked in another board member from his chapter and they went to the movies.
Love it. Thank you so much for reading that. What fun stories. So now it's time to call the roll for Region 5, and I'm excited to introduce returning section coordinator Katie Solinsky, who was initiated at Kansas State University in 2021, and new section coordinator and standing nominating committee member Michaela Part, initiated at Texas Tech University in 2021. Katie, please read the roll and tell us who will read your Morty Boardman story.
Great, thank you, Katie. RJ Cundy from Wichita State University will read our story. And to start with roll, my alma mater, Kansas State University.
Quinn Cadle.
Oklahoma Baptist University.
Jalen Anders.
Oklahoma State University. Southern Methodist University. Southern Nazarene University. Texas Tech University.
Miriam Meshrif.
The University of Kansas. The University of New Mexico.
Gabby Rowe.
The University of Tulsa.
Cecilia Gutierrez.
University of Arizona.
Hannah Pond.
University of North Texas.
Meredith Bowling.
West Texas A&M University.
Araceli Sanchez.
Wichita State University.
RJ Cundy.
And William Jewell College. All right, go ahead, RJ.
Okay. Morty Boardman, a new member of Region 5, is the president of their chapter. They decided to come up with a new fundraiser. The fundraiser Morty Boardman will set up is going to involve soccer, even though he is not very good at it. He traveled to Spain to see a football stadium and a game, even though he only knew how to say hola in Spanish. He organized a game where a professional soccer team would play another mortarboard team, and they would donate the money for each goal scored. Morty then would have to train the mortarboard members to be able to actually beat the professional team. So under the tutelage of the greatest soccer players of all time, he trained the mortarboard members. Morty went and bought himself a book of soccer for dummies to teach himself how to play so he could train the rest of the team members. After he bought the dummy book, he realized it wouldn't really work out. So he tried to hire the professional help of Cristiano Ronaldo to learn how to play soccer. After Morty recruited some extra help, he stubbed his toe. He then called 911 and was carted to the hospital. He got to the hospital where they then discovered that Morty was actually a twin. They figured out he had a twin because the ER doctor was in fact the twin himself. He realized he was being sued because of the problems he was having with not knowing how to play professional football and getting hurt, so he needed an attorney. He contacted Todd, the private detective's mother, to help him with his legal troubles. His twin brother just so happened to be an excellent soccer player, so he stands in for Morty in a celebrity soccer matchup game. Since Morty was being sued, he wasn't allowed to go to the celebrity soccer match. So he talked to the private detective and found a way to sneak into the game in Spain, where he ran onto the field with a sign to raise money for the cause. It's not a sign, it's a mortarboard. He ran out of the field with a mortarboard. This distracted the professionals, allowing mortarboard to score a lot of goals and raise a lot of money.
Well, I don't know if that was a telenovela or Ted Lasso story, but I loved it. Great job, Section 5, with your Morty Boardman story. Last but certainly not least, we'd love to introduce our section coordinators from Region 6. I'm thrilled to introduce one of our 2022 CAB members and returning SC, former member of the Mortarboard National Office team, Michaela Hall, initiated at Chapman University in 2020. 2022 CAB and new section coordinator, Kaylee Jerome, who was initiated at the University of North Dakota, 2019. And last but certainly not least, the 2022 section coordinator of the year, Dr. Catherine Gabrielson, who was initiated at San Diego State University in 1992. Kaylee, please read the roll and tell us who will read our final Morty Boardman story.
Thank you. Chapman University.
Paige Austin.
San Diego State University,
Maya Eldon.
University of California, Los Angeles,
Chloe Jessen.
University of Hawaii at Manoa,
Gabrielle Tessier.
University of Montana, University of San Diego,
Alexander Guerrero.
University of the Pacific,
Megan Carmichael.
University of Washington, University of Wyoming.
Lily Feist.
Awesome. And then I also was not able to make it to the meet and greet, so I don't know who is going to read it.
I'll be reading the story for us. So our story goes, Morty Boardman, a new member from Region 6, rode his bike to the park. On Morty Boardman's way to the park, his bike went over a rock and he unfortunately fell off his bike. But thankfully, another Region 6 mortarboarder was in the park, who reached down to help him up and fixed his bike to make sure it wasn't broken. Morty Boardman was a geology student and he was very interested in the rock he tripped over. Morty Boardman realized that this rock that he had picked up has real healing powers. Because this rock had healing powers, he decided to take it to the hospital. And with this magical rock, he was able to heal everybody at the hospital from their illnesses and injuries. However, the security in the hospital found him strange, so they escorted him off the premises. Since Morty was escorted off the premises, he decided to call the mortarboard national leader who helicoptered in to help save the day. As he got the helicopter to fly overhead, what happened is that all those people that they healed were leaving the hospital at the same time, with their hospital gowns flushing in the wind, exposing themselves to the outside going crazy. The National Guard was called, but due to how silly this sounded, they hung up and did not send anybody. The end.
Well, incredible. I applaud each section and region for your amazingly creative stories. This isn't in the script, so I'm going a little off script, but I would ask that each person who read the Morty Boardman stories, would you please post them on a Whova channel? We'd love to read them and be able to interact with them the rest of this weekend. These have been some of the most creative stories and some of the most fun that I've had at conference. And maybe the one that has the most interactions by the end of conference will get bragging rights to have won Morty Boardman. So thank you for that. Now I would love to turn it over to our nominating and credentials chair to continue to help us with the with accounting for the role at our official meeting.
Hi all, I'm Isabella Wireman and I was initiated into mortarboard at the Sphinx chapter at Auburn University, and I'm pleased to serve as the chair of the Conference and Credentials Committee. The members who are serving on this committee for this year's national conference are Elizabeth Payton from the Forum chapter at Texas Tech, Hasty Harry from the Senior Bench chapter at Beloit College, and Jesnor Hans from the Tolo chapter at the University of Washington. The Standing Nominations Committee, chaired by immediate past President Gail Harrison Corvette, includes former National President Abby Deal, incoming President-elect Nathan Cordell, alumna Lynn Hendrickson, and the 2023 graduates McCaleb Hart and Annie Maska. The national office collected interest forms, which the committee reviewed and conducted interviews with each candidate for. Our current student representative, Michaela Johnson, also participated in several interviews. I thank them and am now pleased to present the following report for the 60th Mortarboard National Conference. There are voting members from 72 chapters in attendance. In addition to the official delegates, we have chapter leaders and advisors, national leaders, and alumni present for this conference for at least 235 Mortarboard members from 91 chapters at our 60th National Conference. On behalf of the Credentials Committee, I move that this role of delegates be considered the official role for the Mortarboard National Conference.
Thank you, Isabella. As this motion comes from a committee, no second is required. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we will take a vote by a show of hands. To cast your vote as an official delegate, please raise your hand virtually on Zoom. For each vote, we will call for those in favor, those opposed, and any who abstain. And the Credentials Committee will assist me in taking the official tally for each vote. So all in favor, please raise your virtual hand now. Thank you. All opposed? give it a second for people's hands to come down. Are there any opposed? Okay. Do I see a few opposed? Okay. Any who abstain? I do see a couple of hands that were up for the last two votes. It's a little harder virtually than it is when we're in person, right? Okay, I believe the motion carries.
Thank you, Katie. Today, all official delegates will be voting on one very important open position on the National Council, the Student Representative at Large. Okay, Ben, is that the right slide? Perfect, thank you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our three student representative candidates who are running for the student representative at large and will serve a 2-year term on the National Council. The nominating committee asks that you listen carefully to their speeches. The candidate is running for a seat on the National Council, which is no small obligation. The National Council is the steward of the entire society between the national conferences. These candidates will represent the student voice, which is critical for our success as an organization. These candidates were vetted by the Standing Nominations Committee prior to the conference. The commitment is 2 years. We will call the candidates up in alphabetical order by last name, and each will give a 2-minute speech. On behalf of the Standing Nominations Committee, we put into nomination 3 candidates for student representative. You can read about the candidates in our program on pages 12 and 13. Committee member Elizabeth Payton will be introducing them in alphabetical order by last name now.
Thank you, Isabella. On behalf of the Nominating and Credentials Committee, please help me welcome our first candidate, Nadra Fair, from the Maritime Chapter at the University of North Texas, to speak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nadra Fair, and I'm one of the students who's running for student representative. I'll be a senior this year at University of North Texas, and I plan to graduate next May 2024 with my Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice and a minor in Human Services. I currently serve as an alumni chair for my mortarboard chapter, and I'm going to serve as secretary for my Criminal Justice Honor Society this upcoming school year. And I have previous experience in leadership at my previous community college. And I believe that'll be a great fit to serve as a student rep for the 2-year term, because I want to listen to every student's voices on what they want to see happen for this organization and be the advocate for the events and improvements that our chapter wants to invest into. I want our chapters to be able to know that they have another student along who's there to support them, to encourage them in everything they need to do, be a role model, and make our organization inclusive, engaging, and changing for current and future scholars. How I'll be able to serve on this term is by making sure that I'm contributing to the meetings, conferences, and events so that I can be informed about important information that will be beneficial, while making sure that I'm keeping my academics, extracurriculars, and personal life as a priority to me. I like to also be able to be a part of the society by telling other students about being a part of the society through events and being ambitious and being hardworking. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadra. That was wonderful. Now we open it up for anyone in the entire Zoom meeting to ask Nadra some questions, which will be open to every candidate after their speech. And I encourage y'all to really think about it, because this is our student representative and we're only accepting one this year. Does anybody have any questions? Please feel free to unmute and ask. Hey, Nadra, I think that's great. Oh, Alexander, did you have a question?
Yeah. It's a pleasure to meet you. I guess one of the questions that I would have to be is, what would be your main area to focus on, or sort of what is an area you can see that sort of you would be able to improve, or at least help improve within the national mortarboard sort of scale? And sort of what would you do, pretty much?
What will I do is I want to encourage like the students to be able to spread the word about Motorboard towards like other students that don't know about it or who were recently like asked to join about it. Like some may not understand the whole purpose of the honor society, so that way I want to do that by just like encouraging students to be able to share their experience in this honor society, tell them about their roles, you know, the benefits and just the history of this org.
Thank you.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any other questions? Elizabeth, I think Kara's ready.
Sorry about that. Now, will you please join me in welcoming Kara Stogsdill from the Red Tassel chapter at Illinois State University to speak?
You. I'm Kara Stogsdill from the Red Tassel chapter of Mortarboard at Illinois State University. I'm a senior English major and double minor in classical studies and linguistics. I'm so glad to be a part of Mortarboard. The organization's focus on scholarship, leadership, and service are all ideals that I hold close to my heart, which is why I was incredibly excited to become a part of Mortarboard at the end of this year. I was very excited to read about the student representative position because I think it's a vital role in an organization like Mortarboard that really is truly led by the students. I was interested in this position because I currently hold a similar position at ISU, where I serve as student representative for the English Major Advisory Board. I've greatly enjoyed working as the voice of the students, bringing their ideas and concerns to the administration, and then working together to implement changes and any new ideas that the student body has to put forward. I would love to be able to do the same for Mortarboard. I would like my time as student representative at large to bring ideas from the chapters to the national board and work to implement those ideas that the collegiate members have. I also want to ensure that Mortarboard continues to make strides in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as this is an area that's incredibly important to ensure that Mortarboard is an organization that everyone can feel comfortable being a member of. I would love to see chapters have representatives that work to include traditionally underserved students in Mortarboard by inviting them to events and working to actively recruit them as members. Finally, I want to make sure that the chapters and the collegiate members feel heard and included in the organization, because as the leaders who drive what we do in Mortarboard, it's essential that all of our members feel that they matter and that they're heard.
Thank you so much, Kara. Does anybody have a question for Kara? Let's try to have one for everybody. Okay, I'll have one, Kara. What do you think as a member of Mortarboard that you would like every single Mortarboard member to take away after their year?
I would like every member to take away the experiences that they've had and use them to find a way to incorporate the feelings of inclusion that they had and leadership and working together as a group, and use those in their life going forward, whether it's leading in their careers or in the community or inspiring others to become leaders and help others. That's what I would wish for everyone, that everyone can take that out into the world and spread that message around.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kara. Oh, do we have a question from Shaw?
Yeah. You think as a student representative, what would you say would be an important way for the more boards from all the universities to connect with each other?
It's a really great question. I think it would be a good idea to make sure that the individual chapters within each region are kind of connecting with each other and touching base and seeing what everybody in their region is doing and kind of working together in that way. And then, maybe mix it up where once every couple of months, different regions get together, like maybe 2 and 4 can get together 1 month, or 3 and 5, and talk about what they're doing and see if there's any ideas that other chapters are doing that they could implement in their own region that might help somebody who's struggling financially or struggling to get membership, just anything that any of the chapters could be struggling with. I think it's important to stay connected as a region, but then as a national group as well.
Awesome. Those are great ideas. Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all. Elizabeth.
I am now pleased to welcome our third and final candidate, Gabrielle Tessier, from the Hui Pu'ukila chapter at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, to speak.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Gabrielle, and I am the current president of UH's Mortarboard chapter. And today I'm coming to you as a student representative at large candidate. Now, this position greatly interests me because of the responsibility it brings. I want to be your voice and successfully have your thoughts and concerns heard. I know what it's like to feel overlooked and nervous to speak up to people, and I want to assure you that you will receive no judgment when speaking with me, and I promise a safe environment so you do not feel nervous speaking to me. And so some of my ideas to achieve this level of visibility with you is to be accessible to you on multiple platforms. I'd like to create a Discord server where all of you can join, from presidents to members of your chapters, to give every single one of you the accessibility to your student representative at large. If you don't know what Discord is, it acts like Zoom as well as a chat room, so you can video chat with me or text me on it. I've used Discord for classes and tutoring and find it a useful resource. And with this, I'd be available 24/7, but I can also create office hours that you can pop in if you ever need to ask me anything. But I don't just want the Discord to be used as a platform to reach me. I'd like it for all of us to use it to stay connected to each other. So where you can share updates on your chapter, what you're doing, things you're proud of, and support each other. Another idea I had that I'd love to do on a national level and not just a local level was to create a mentor program. Now, this can be for collegiate members to mentor underclassmen and help them in ways you wish you were helped when you're going through what they're experiencing. And it can also be a way for us to be mentored by alumni. We could possibly choose specific careers, like the physician, to speak to that person on their experiences and ask them questions. And also having a mentor program for underclassmen can be a key recruitment opportunity, since you can encourage participants to join Mortarboard as you're their role model. And so with this honor society being over 100 years old, I want to help it reach the next 100 by doing a fine job as a student representative at large. With this role on the National Council, I'll make great efforts to be a strong advocate for my fellow collegiate members and make sure no one is marginalized. If elected, I'd be a strong communicator, supporter, and advocate for Mortarboard's members, principles, and achievements. I'll not only work towards excellence and greatness in my own local chapter, but also nationally with other student leaders so that Mortarboard can remain strong and have a positive future outlook. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Really creative. Does anybody have any questions for Gabrielle?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gabrielle, I think you did a great job. I really loved a lot of your ideas, and I think that you would be great for it. One question that I had was, how are you planning to manage your time with all of this? Because, you know, it's a great idea to have increased visibility and more direct access and communication channels, but how would you manage the time and with everything else that you're involved in?
Absolutely, great question. So I greatly prioritize Mortarboard already as the president of my local chapter. And I think that with choosing specific times to be able to have that availability, as well as like a chat room where I can like check in and out of that like really easily to see if people have questions or concerns, that I can just like schedule something later or speak to them right now. That sort of flexibility is really what I want to achieve with like social media technology we have today. And I know with being a pre-med student myself, and I know a lot of you have your own obligations and priorities, and we all have life things. And so just to be very communicative about that, like if there's like office hours, be like, hey, sorry, something came up, I can't make it now. Just like to have that like awareness and just, yeah, clearance with all of you guys.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's hear from Shaw next.
How would you like to set up a mentorship that's accommodating for people of different backgrounds? Like, say if they have a disability.
Yeah, great question. I think I've actually had a position where I was a mentor to a large group of students who some did have disabilities. We have at my university like a KUKUA department, which is to help students with disabilities. And so we are just aware of that, and in general, just very kind and open to just anybody. And so, you know, I want to say that it doesn't matter if you have like any struggles that you're dealing with, because just, you know, if you're open to sharing that, I would just love to listen and accept everything about you and to help you in any ways that you're looking for to get help as a mentor. But if your question was also to sort of like create a mentor program, I definitely want to talk with, you know, people in the National Council. I know they have something sort of in progress. And so just like to start with there, as well as like create and like in my own chapter, as well as getting to ask other chapters who have already maybe created a mentor program, how they have like successfully done that, or if there was something unsuccessful about that, to really sort of create something that we can stick with and continue on for years to come.
So thank you. Elizabeth, did you have a question?
I did. I just kind of branching off of the question about how you would manage your time with creating all these with what you already do, especially being, for example, pre-med, that's a big time commitment. But I'm curious how you said you prioritize mortarboard, and of course you prioritize your studies, but how do you make sure to set aside time for yourself to make sure that you don't get burnt out?
That's a really good question. So I think just I really try to be aware of like time management, and like I have experienced a bit of like, you know, if working too hard, you can get a bit like burnt out. And so I feel like I've like through experiences already in college, I've sort of had this understanding of how much work I can take. And so just like looking at my schedule right now, it's sort of more flexible. And I definitely want to keep that, like with any like class schedules and everything, really open for all of you to know that, hey, I may not have time on these days anymore for this semester. I'll have office hours on like the weekends maybe, or in the evenings. And I know with also like living in Hawaii, there's a bit of a time difference for everyone. And so I'll also be keeping like earlier office hours for me, so maybe like your afternoon. But I definitely try to maintain like a healthy lifestyle and like de-stress with like artistic works, to have like different outlets, like physical outlets, artistic outlets, to sort of, yeah, take a break from work, because knowing my limits, I do need to take breaks throughout the different things I have to do, if that answers your question.
Awesome. Thank you for your answers, Gabrielle. And the nominating committee would like to thank Nadra, Kara, and Gabrielle for their very bright, quick answers to all of our questions and their wonderful speeches. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Isabella, Elizabeth, and the rest of the committee. You've done an excellent job representing this important committee. And wow, I want to just echo thank you to each candidate for your interest in this important role, for the way you presented yourself today, both in your prepared remarks and the way you answered these fabulous questions from the delegation. Now, this vote will be taken by a secret ballot. Each conference delegate should cast a ballot for the position of student representative electronically in the Google form. We'll be opening up the ballot now, and it will remain open until 8 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow morning. Feel free to scan this QR code and go ahead and put your vote in. As a reminder, each chapter may cast one vote, and if you're not sure if you're the official delegate or if anyone else from your chapter is voting, go ahead and vote anyway. Members of the nominations committee will serve as tellers and will count ballots and validate the official vote for your chapter if more than one vote is received. The elected student representative at large will be announced at tomorrow's opening session. Again, the voting is now open and will remain so until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Please click on the link in the chat, scan the QR code, but either way, cast your ballot. We'll also be sending out the link in Whova. The next official order of business is to provide you with an update on the state of our society. And to begin, I'd like to invite President-elect Dr. Cassandra Lucas to provide you with an update on our strategic plan and priorities as an organization.
Thank you, Katie. Ben, may you also advance the slides one more for me, please? Great, thank you. So strategic planning is our organization's process of documenting our intended direction and communicating our vision. It helps us prioritize our efforts, allocate our resources, and align our society around our goals. Importantly, it is an ongoing process, not a one-time event, that provides us focus, but also allows for adjustments, of which we had a few over the past few years. So you'll see on the screen our strategic plan. It may be difficult to read or to capture all at once, so please note that it's also included in your program for the conference, as well as posted on our website. So just to give you a brief history, we initially started planning for our strategic plan in 2019 at the national conference. We had a strategic planning retreat in January of 2020, actually in person, which now feels very, very odd since it was just a couple of months later in which we had to pivot, as we noted in April of 2021 due to the pandemic. And while we were initially planning on a 3-year strategic plan, we actually created a 1-year plan that year, which we outlined and presented at that year conference. And then we had a second virtual planning meeting in January 2021, where we actually outlined the current 3-year strategic plan. We have presented this plan then in 2021 and 2022 at the national conferences and are excited to highlight today some of our accomplishments, as well as our focus for the next upcoming year, year 3 in 2023 and 2024. So since the launch of the strategic plan, we have accomplished much toward our goals. We've rebranded our website. We've established a standing diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging committee, which you will have multiple opportunities to interact with throughout the conference, and created a DEI and B award, as well as increased DEI and B programming, both on our college campuses and at the national level. We've created new volunteer opportunities at the campus, regional, and national levels. We've appointed a membership committee, which you'll hear about in more detail shortly. We've expanded advisor communication, and we've installed 1 new chapter with more in the pipeline. While we continue to work across our entire strategic plan, we are emphasizing 4 specific strategies this year. One is to express the lifelong value of involvement, to increase collegiate membership, to foster a sense of belonging among members, and to implement effective advising models at every chapter. We look forward to continuing to provide updates on our strategic plan throughout the upcoming year and welcome folks to get engaged in this very important initiative for our society.
Thank you, Cass. The work that you're leading is transformative for Mortarboard and will set us up well for the future. You can find information on our Whova app, and also if you're interested in learning about our process of strategic planning or getting involved in the initiatives that Cass walked us through, please find any national leader this weekend to learn more. As you've begun to learn this weekend, we are an organization with a rich history. We've played an important role on campuses across the country for more than 105 years. However, we know that student organizations and campus life is changing. Even pre-pandemic, we noticed that students wanted different things from organizations like Mortarboard, and we've been having discussions about how we can become more relevant on campuses and meet our collegiate members where they are. As a national organization, we look at a lot of different data points to understand the health of the society. And a few years ago, we began to do a deep dive on our new member numbers and begin to ask ourselves what was happening as we saw a steady decline in membership over year. While it was discouraging to see our numbers decline, we did a deep dive to understand some of the challenges. We found first that oftentimes 1 year can make or break the momentum for a Mortarboard chapter on campus. If an executive board isn't committed or someone loses an advisor, it can really harm the trajectory of that chapter's viability on campus. We also noted that many of our chapters struggle to find a signature event or a project that differentiated them on campus, with so much happening on college campuses today. We also noted that the experience our college students went through during the global pandemic beginning in 2020 made it even more difficult to keep continuity. So as we began to plan for this year, including budgeting, we tried to be more strategic about how we budgeted and planned for the year ahead. With a more focused budgeting and planning process, we set a more realistic goal of at least staying steady with our number of paid members this year. And I'm so pleased to say that as of the end of June, we've surpassed last year's paid membership numbers. We have focused on strengthening our existing chapters, but also on installing new chapters. We know there are campuses that don't have Mortarboard chapters or an equivalent where Mortarboard would be a great fit. You've heard tonight already about our latest chapter that was installed, the College of Charleston, and I'm pleased to share that the National Council just voted last month to accept another institution, Life University in Marietta, Georgia, which will be installed later this year. We also saw several campuses come back to life for the first time after years of not selecting new members on their campus, which is incredibly exciting to see. And thank you to those of you who are part of those chapters who are in the rebuilding process. With that, I reflect on the main topics that the National Council of Foundation and Strategic Committees have been focused on this year, and they come down to 3 areas of focus. Mission. How are we living up to our purpose and ideals as a society? Do our actions match our words? And through that, we have established things like a standing DEIB committee. We're ensuring we're doing more to educate ourselves on how to be a truly inclusive organization, tops down. And we focused on things like diversifying our national leadership to ensure we are more representative of our members. Membership. How do we rebound our membership post-pandemic and ensure our chapters are equipped to welcome new classes into Mortarboard? You see in the programming, especially chapter operation sessions this weekend, we have tried to really offer more sessions that will help you based on where your chapter is in that journey. Are you rebuilding your chapter, or do you have a strong foothold on campus? And so hopefully this will leave a foundation for you to help strengthen your membership on your campus. And then the third is money. How do we fund the necessary strategic initiatives in Mortarboard for Mortarboard to thrive in our second century and not just survive? It's not exciting always to talk about money, and we are a nonprofit, so it's not our main motivator. But through things like strategic partnerships with our Mortarboard National Foundation, investing in staff that will help our fundraising efforts, and tapping into our alumni who are deeply committed to Mortarboard and the success of our future, I believe that this state of our society is strong. I'm inspired by the new collegiate members that I've gotten to meet already this weekend and that I'm seeing interacting vocally in things like our business meeting. Even our Morty Boardman stories show that you are passionate individuals who care about this organization, many of which you're just getting to know. I also know that we have a deep bench of committed alumni and volunteer leaders who care deeply about supporting you and implementing your vision for the future of Mortarboard. Sometimes we'll say things like, this is not your mother's Mortarboard, and we do believe it. While we have members who've stayed committed actively for over 50 years of service, we know that the future of Mortarboard is in your hands and that you should set the strategic direction for our society moving forward. We hope that you'll ask questions and have conversations with members of national leadership this weekend and beyond, and whichever student representative will join Michaela to make sure our students have a voice in our governance throughout the year. In order to continue to elevate the student voice, I do want to introduce one more important conference committee, the Resolutions and Recommendations Committee. I'd like to welcome the co-chairs Nick Rodriguez from the Fairmont chapter at Wichita State University and Kara Stogsdill from the Red Tassel chapter at Illinois State University to explain more about the purpose of this conference committee.
Pleased to serve as the chair of the Resolution and Recommendations Committee. The members who are serving on this committee for this year's national conference are Gabrielle Tessier from the Hui Po Okela chapter at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, Maya Eldon from the Jane K. Smith Cap and Gown chapter at San Diego State University. The purpose of our committee is outlined in the bylaws in Article 5, Section 1.6. Resolutions are the society's formal statement of philosophy or its deliberate choice of action and are effective for the next 2 years. Resolutions are looked to by the society for organizational direction and by chapters for programming direction.
The conference recommendations are items suggested for the society's leadership or chapters to consider. Today, our committee started a topic thread on the Whova app for the resolutions and recommendations. And for your reference, we posted pictures of the 2021 and 2022 resolutions and recommendations from National Conference. So please take a look and contribute your thoughts either on the thread or at one of our meetups this weekend at conference. We'll be hosting open office hours tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for you to drop in and share your feedback. Feel free to catch us during the conference and tomorrow at the governance think tank session. That will be at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Members of the committee will be present to collect additional thoughts for resolutions and recommendations as well.
Thank you so much, Kara and Nick, and the whole Resolutions and Recommendations Committee. Elevating the student voice is a top priority for us on the National Council of Mortar Board, and this is a fantastic way to do just that. Now our business is at an end, and so I will entertain a motion to recess this meeting. If you would like to make this motion, please raise your hand, and when called upon, give your name and chapter as you make the motion. I saw Shaw.
Yes, Shaw Gill from Bowling Green State University.
Perfect.
In a Paulson chapter.
Wonderful. Thank you for move to recess. And then I saw Kara next.
Kara Stogsdill from Illinois State University.
Perfect. This motion is not debatable, so please cast your vote for recess by raising your virtual hand. All in favor? Okay. I'll give it a second. You may put your hands down if you're in favor. Any opposed to move to recess? Any abstain? Okay, the motion carries. So next, we have two fabulous professional development sessions, one on work-life balance and one on building your personal board of directors. I think the next slide is where we want to go, Ben. Thanks so much. I wish I could be in two places at once, as both of these sound fantastic. So pick your topic and head over to the new Zoom room to enjoy this final session of our first day of conference.